Welcome to Interesting Choices.
Is that the intro?
I mean, I'm fine with it if you are. I don't know that I can think of anything else.
No, I think it's fine. I think it's great.
Yeah. Welcome to Interesting Choices, the show where we talk about obscure movies, TV shows, and other media, and kind of go through the choices that they make. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
I know everybody has to stay inside this year, but that's, no reason you can't enjoy it. Just grab a big old bowl of candy or popcorn or candy corn if that's how you roll. Lord knows I do.
I don't truck with the candy corn. It's too sweet for me. Anyway, I'm Kate. Hello.
And I'm Sky.
Season's greetings, Sky. This is the best time of year. I love Halloween. I'm super stoked to talk about the movie.
I am also a huge fan of Halloween. I love cosplaying, and nothing's better than an official holiday where you get to cosplay. I know nobody calls it that, but that's what it is.
I definitely started putting up all my decorations at the beginning of September. So now all of my neighbors are like, oh, that's her house.
Yeah.
She's that neighbor.
I don't have any Halloween specific ones because I know if I put them up, I just wouldn't take them down.
And to be fair, I do have Halloween decorations that live in my house all year long. Just like this movie lives in my mind rent free after I've seen it all year long.
Yeah, today we're talking about 1986's Trick or Treat from De Laurentiis Entertainment Group.
Yeah, there are a lot of movies called Trick or Treat.
At least 4, including this one that I found. The majority of them are horror movies. One was a coming of age. Another one was something along the lines of When a Stranger Calls. Another one's an anthology. And then we got this one.
Honestly, I don't know why this was called that.
It takes place on Halloween, and one of the songs I think was called Trick or Treat.
Sure, but it has literally nothing to do with the act of trick-or-treating. Barely anything to do with Halloween. They should have just called this one heavy metal hell songs.
Well, in foreign markets, it looks like it was also called Ragman or Death at 33 RPMs.
That is a cool title.
I'm not so sure about Ragman. You only hear someone say it once and no one calls him that. He calls himself that.
Yeah, no. Just the Death at 33 RPM. That's dope. Ragman, very silly.
Yeah. Nothing sillier than the nickname you give yourself.
Yeah. So, Trick or Treat. It's a movie from 1986 that is very from 1986.
Yeah.
This was made in the height of the satanic panic, of the mass hysteria around backward masking and heavy metal music, seducing your children into worshiping the devil and all sorts of other things. And it is centered around that sort of hysteria.
Yeah, it's also kind of this weird liminal period between the beginning of the 70s and the end of the 90s when liking anything too much just made you a nerd, no matter what it was.
The main character is your typical sort of disaffected outsider high school youth.
White guy, which definitely hits differently nowadays.
It does, yeah. I think when this movie came out, he was someone to empathize with and to maybe see yourself as from the point of view of the intended audience of this movie, which was just white teenagers.
Suburbia. Yeah.
If you contrast him with the main character from Brain Scan, it's very much along the same line of I'm a shitty teen who is shitty to everyone and I kind of suck, but I have to deal with these supernatural forces.
I have a pretty cool room too, and also Ghost thing also came out of some sort of technology.
Yeah, it's actually a very similar movie.
Yeah.
But in this case, we have Eddie Weinbauer, who I did not recognize that as his name for the longest time because the first couple times you hear it, his bullies are saying it.
And they're kind of shouting it.
They're shouting it, and it sounds like they're saying white power. It's really
I thought it was just me, I swear to God. Especially when he comes over to his house and he's shouting it at his front yard.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I thought that was just a derogatory nickname for him because he liked heavy metal music. And I was like, that cuts really close and is very No, his name is just Weinbauer.
But yeah, we open with fan mail.
The opening shot of the movie is basically this pan establishing shot throughout his room across all of these like heavy metal posters. And you see that he's like real deep into Ozzy, who we'll talk about. Other popular acts at the time. And then his most favorite one is Sammy Kerr.
Yeah, played by Tony Fields.
And how would you describe Sammy Kerr?
Like an edgelord's version of Alice Cooper.
Also with a slight bit more like homoeroticism in there.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of redundant straps on places that don't need them. Not that it has anything to do with anything. It's just a fashion choice. Another similarity, they both kind of live between Eddie Weinbauer and I think the other kid's name was Eddie too. Oh no, that's the actor's name, Eddie Furlong. They both live in unfinished attics. Is what I was going to say.
There was a time when instead of putting kids in the closet, they just stuck them in the attic.
Here's a bed and a hi-fi. Go nuts.
We pan over to Eddie, who is writing a letter.
Yeah, he's sort of describing his situation, how much he admires Sammy, and there's a montage of the crap he has to put up with the bullies at school. But, you know, I mean, I feel bad for him, but not as much as the movie wants me to. Yeah,
he has a shitty time, and it's never cool when kids are bullied. It's a really hard thing to deal with, but he stands out in his high school. He's unlike anyone else there. There is no rock crowd for him to be part of. He hangs out underneath the stairs like some sort of troll.
We just get a montage of that for a bit, and he signs off with his nickname that he gave himself, Ragman, and that's the only time we hear it in the whole movie. Oh, wait, no. Gene Simmons says it.
Yes, also Gene Simmons is in this movie somehow.
Yeah. I actually really liked him in this movie. I'd like to see him in more roles like that, honestly.
Like, when I was watching it, I did not pick him out, just like I didn't pick out Ozzy, just because I was just, like, watching it. Who does Gene Simmons play?
He plays Nuke, the DJ. Eddie mails the letter, and he's doing his laundry. He's got the TV on. There's a news story playing. He's not really paying attention to it. And then it turns out that Sammy Kerr has died in a mysterious hotel fire.
He was in the middle of a battle with the local high school and school district because he wanted to perform at the local high schools.
And that was the other reason Eddie looked up to him, because Sammy went to the same high school as he did.
This would have been his chance to see his hero perform in his high school gymnasium, I guess, for the Halloween dance. But due to a variety of factors, he was prohibited from doing it by the authorities, but then also died in a fire.
Yeah. Before we quite move forward, I just want to mention, like, they show like a clip of him, I guess, at a concert, and he's singing stuff. And then he licks a very fake looking snake and bites its head off, you know, rubs its blood all over him. But you can very clearly see the blood hose on his arm hanging.
It was not an expensive movie.
Yeah, that being said, they did a lot with that budget.
They did. And they did a lot with the runtime, too.
He goes to commiserate with the DJ of the local hard rock station, Nuke, played by Gene Simmons. He's just a cool guy.
He's just like an old rocker who has known Eddie for a while and is like, I see a kindred spirit in you. Eddie's, of course, pretty destroyed by this news. And Nuke's like, hey, I have this thing. It's this big studio acetate of Sammy's last single. I want you to have it. I already made a recording. I'm going to play it at midnight on Halloween, just as Sammy wanted, as a tribute. But you can have the original. He would have wanted you to have it because you're his biggest fan. Go listen to it. Have fun.
Just like a really sweet character. Just not who he is in real life. I'm led to understand. Yeah, it was like his last as yet unreleased album. You never see the label, but it's actually called Songs in the Key of Death.
But before he can get home and listen to it, he goes to school, and the girl that he likes talks to him and invites him out to a pool party.
Yeah, it doesn't go well.
No. The bullies that were bullying him earlier were there, basically verbally abuse him.
Yeah, she's not there right away to vouch for him, which she does later. She actually genuinely wanted him there, but he, because of the turn of events, thinks it was a setup. And then they kind of try to kill him.
Yeah. They push him into a pool.
One of them slips a weight into his backpack, and then they push him into a pool.
It's bad. I mean, those kids definitely are super shitbags.
Yeah.
But he does not die.
No, he gets saved by, gosh, I think her name was Lisa.
Yeah, I don't remember her name.
It might have been Leslie.
Love interest?
Yeah, love interest girl. Yeah, she saves him, and she's like, I'm sorry, the car wouldn't start. I would have been here sooner. I would have picked you up. And he's not having any of it.
And he treats her pretty poorly, honestly.
Like, not even listening. Assumes it's a setup. Screams at her. He screams that he's going to nail them. I don't know how. I don't know when, but I'm going to nail them, which not the best choice of words.
Slang has evolved over the years.
Mm-hmm.
He goes home and retreats into the only thing that gives him solace, which is heavy metal music.
Yeah, he puts on the album and he listens to it and he falls asleep. When he wakes up, it's skipping and he's hearing a weird noise coming from it.
As an aficionado of heavy metal music, he understands that there is backward masking going on, and so he does the zoop, 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 like rewindy thing, and then he starts hearing messages.
Yeah, he uses his ranks in knowledge heavy metal to figure out that there is backmasking, and then it turns out they're not just messages. Sammy's actually communicating him from beyond the grave through this record. Oh, while he was asleep, he also has a dream about the hotel fire that killed Sammy. And there's like some sort of ritual. He's in a ring of fire. There's people on fire next to him. Everything else is on fire. A lot less fire sound effects than I would have thought for a roaring hotel fire. But that just kind of adds to like the whole surreal nature of it. I might not have had it up high enough, but I couldn't really tell what the disc was telling him.
Yeah, it was very garbled. It's a sort of thing that, like, I wish there were captions, but we were both watching on YouTube, so we take what we get. But
yeah, so he goes to school the next day and he's setting something up. You're not sure what. It was kind of neat, actually, in the execution. It's sort of not quite a Rube Goldberg chase thing. He gets there. He finds the kids who bullied him and it's like, hey, eat this. And he slams the lunch tray in the guy's face and then takes off.
There's a bit of Scooby-Dooing throughout the school. You know, they're running through music rooms, tossing over instruments.
The stands, yeah, knocking people over.
Yeah, like being super disruptive.
Speed walking through the library.
Yeah, it's pretty comical. And then there's finally a like hallway where Eddie ducks down and the bullies think he goes into one room and then they burst in with a fire extinguisher ready to punish him with fire extinguisher foam, I guess.
Yeah.
But it turns out it was a teacher's lounge. Eddie was not in there. They just end up spraying the teachers for way too long. It
was a kind of, at least for me, a neat little subversion. I kind of got the impression they were going to get caught. Eddie was going to be blamed for all of this, and then he would get in trouble. But he actually found a way so that only the bullies get in trouble for it. And to be honest, when they pulled the fire extinguisher off the wall, I thought they were going to try to beat him with it because of the whole drowning incident earlier.
Later on in the film, they get closer and closer towards just like straight up wanting to murder him.
Yeah.
But at this point, I think they just have earned themselves a detention, and while Eddie gets to walk away scot-free.
It's kind of funny because the movie goes at pains to show him setting up what are ultimately just two smaller parts of the larger chase. A swivel chair that he jumps over and then spins around so they run into it. Like, the setup makes it seem like those parts are going to be a lot more integral to the chase than they end up being.
Yeah, it's like a slightly less satisfying Home Alone.
But Eddie's pretty jazzed.
And he is super excited, and he has a best friend, this nerdy dude named Roger. And he's like, Roger, there's all these messages, and I'm like getting messages and they're telling me what to do. And Roger's like,
sure, bro.
Roger, he kind of occasionally listens to metal, but is more just like a nerd of some sort.
Yeah, a nerd of all trades, if you will. And I think they're both friends because of a genuine kinship between them and not necessarily because they're both picked on, which is nice. Mm-hmm. And Roger, to the movie's credit, actually seems like a pretty decent human being.
Yeah. After he gets his first revenge on the bullies, the record tells him to do more things.
Yeah.
The second of the instances, again, like involves him pissing off the bullies who are now out for blood and them chasing him into the machine shop, I believe.
He goes to listen to the music in the shop, and that's probably like one of the worst places to be cornered in the school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're out for blood, like you said. They knock him over and they shove him around a bit and they give him a bloody lip. But before they can actually do any serious harm, I think the main bully's name is like actually Chad or Tim. I don't know. So Chad demonstrates why you don't wear a necktie around a lathe. Rule number 1 of shop.
No loose articles, no dangling jewelry or hair. Yeah. Just don't get things caught in spinning machines, kids.
Yeah, the lathe suddenly turns on and grabs his tie, and then the tool end of it starts inching menacingly towards his eye socket. Mm-hmm. And while his other friend is held at bay with a rampaging metal saw.
Supernatural hijinks ensue, and the only one that has any power to do anything is Eddie, who is sort of poised by the comically large, like, pull lever breaker thing, and he hesitates for a bit.
I think part of him wants to just see how far it's going to go and want to believe that it wasn't really like him waiting for it to actually do something and then having a crisis of conscience. But you don't really know because, I mean, he does hesitate. And then right as the spike on the tool end starts digging into Chad Tim's forehead, he hits the shutdown.
Yeah, he saves their lives, but they are not happy about it.
Yeah, they're freaked out.
Mm-hmm. And at this point, I think he's a little freaked out too.
He just wanted to get back at them. He didn't realize he didn't really want to hurt them until it almost happened, I think.
Fundamentally, he's a good kid who just wants to be left alone. But sometimes the temptation of power from supernatural means is a lot. He gets home and he has another conversation with the spirit of Sammy through the record. And he's like, okay, I'm done. I don't want to do any more than this.
But then Record Sammy's like, no, kill them all. And we found out from Nuke earlier that he was just like an angry guy, like all the time. Like Eddie's a genuinely good kid that has to put up with some bullshit, but he was just like an angry dude. Some soda spills on the record player and gets some electricity onto it, and then one of the speakers starts growing veins in a pretty cool effect. And then Sammy forces his way out of the speaker grill and then lightnings his way into Ragman's attic abode.
It's a very like Freddy Krueger-esque appearance. If you've ever seen literally any of the Elm Street movies where, you know, you have the wall where like Freddy's face is starting to come through it, it's that sort of thing, but a speaker.
It's not a bad effect, honestly. They really do a lot with just a $3 million budget, I think it was.
Yeah, 3.5. Eddie like freaks out and starts smashing things.
Yeah, he busts up the record in order to prevent that from happening again. But he made a cassette copy earlier as a peace offering.
He's like, hey, no hard feelings. I made this tape for you. Here you go. And Chad Tim does not listen to it.
Throws it in his bag.
Yeah. But then later on, while he and his girlfriend, who was also one of the bullies that has bullied Eddie, are making out in the car, they're about to have sex, or maybe they just finished. Tim is like, I gotta go. And he just leaves. And I think it's to go to the bathroom, but it's never explicitly stated. He just kind of bounces for a while.
Yeah, he just leaves for a hot minute.
So she's just bored in the car because this is before phones existed. She's like, oh, look, a Walkman with a tape. I guess I'll listen to it because I got nothing better to do.
Mm-hmm. And that goes about as well as can be expected in a horror movie about rock and roll.
Yeah, so she listens to the totally sweet chrome tape of songs in the key of death.
It's neat, too, because he recorded on metal tape, which is like just a high quality cassette variation. But yeah, it's just a chromed out cassette, which is also pretty dope.
It is. The special effects budget kicks in. She starts having like weird glowing light halo thing all over her.
They kind of coalesce into ghostly grabby hands. Yeah, this ghostly green energy kind of feels her up and undresses her, which I'm sure is someone's fetish.
Oh, one hundo.
Yeah, and she's got her eyes closed. And she's really into it, into the music. Something's happening. You don't see it. And then she opens her eyes, and there's a demon. And it was probably doing stuff.
It is kind of like I would say like a green gargoyle looking thing.
Yeah, with a very suggestive tongue.
I watched some sort of featurette on this, and that was supposed to be Sammy's sidekick demon. Because they just wanted a cool demon in there, and they're like, yes, just pull it in. It'll be dope.
If only he'd showed up at more points in the movie instead of just molesting someone.
Yeah, that's literally the only time you see him. I think he has like a funny name, but Again, no one ever says it. It's just like, oh, by the way, there's a demon here. And then she screams.
There's a ruckus. Tad Chad Tim comes to the rescue, but it's far too late.
She's kind of like passed out in the car. The headphones are on her, like exuding slime into her ears when he takes them off. And
I thought it had literally melted her ears, is what it looked like to me.
Yeah, it's some sort of viscous organic thing. She's not doing good. She's not dead per se, but
she had to go to the hospital.
Yes.
Which is when Tad Chad Tim shows up on Eddie's front lawn and shouts white power at his house for a good 5 minutes.
Yep. That was a thing, definitely. He blames him for doing something to his girlfriend, but nothing really happens. Like, Tim just goes home.
He's just like, you did something in that tape. I'm going to go now.
Eddie, at this point, I believe, is grounded by his mom.
He recruits Roger to steal the copy he made from Tad Tim's car.
Because he can't go himself for reasons. So he just sends his best friend to break into this car and to steal the tape. And like a loyal friend, he puts on his best stealth gear, I guess, and goes and like tries to Slim Jim the door open with a coat hanger, but then it's just open. Like the door has never been locked, and so he just opens the door, takes the tape, and he's like, whoop, he yoinks it back home.
Yeah, and Eddie's pretty clear that he needs to destroy that tape, but whoopsie doodle, he doesn't, and then lies about it.
Like a fool, he decides to play the tape.
Foolish fool.
Because he's very curious, because Eddie's like, oh, no, it's the worst thing, but it's like also really extreme, and like it would be very cool if it weren't so horrific, basically.
Yeah.
He lobbed that one right over the plate for Sammy to just knock it out of the park and appear in Roger's house after he plays the tape and bully him.
Yeah, he starts fanboying out immediately, and Sammy's just like, shut up, played at the dance.
He starts doing some supernatural things to convince Roger that he means business, because Sammy wants everyone to hear his songs. At this point, it's kind of implied that anytime his music is playing, he has the ability to come out of the speaker that is playing the music, so he can be anywhere, and if they're playing the song, then he has more power to affect change upon the world.
They kind of imply he pulls power from electricity, but it isn't really till later.
The high school dance is coming up. Love interest wants Eddie to go with her. Eddie is grounded by his mom, who is like, you're not going out. Just stay here, hand out candy.
Oh my god, his parents are so adorable.
Isn't it just like his single mom and then just like the dude she's dating?
Maybe. I thought it was his dad, but I don't have any evidence to back that up. But they're pretty adorable. Like, she's dressed as like a Jane Fonda workout type of character, and then the guy's like the dorkiest Rambo ever.
It's really great. But she's like totally into it, and she's like simping all over him, and I'm all for it. He's at home. He's like, well, everything's fine.
Yeah, he's being responsible. He's not busting out to go see love interest girl. He's just like, you know what? I did wrong. I'm gonna do my time.
But love interest calls Eddie, and she's like, hey, are you coming to the dance? Because like we're here, and in the background, Roger has started playing the music.
There was like a great little exchange between Roger and love interest where she's like, have you seen Eddie? No, I haven't seen Eddie. Have you seen Eddie? I asked you. No, I haven't seen Eddie.
Yeah, he's super shady because he's literally doing the devil's work.
Yeah.
But recognizing Sammy's song in the background and the danger that everyone is in, Eddie decides to rush to the high school.
There's a trick-or-treater. He slams the door on the face to take the call. When he leaves, they're still there, so he rewards them with the entire bowl of candy and the bowl.
Eventually, he gets to the prom. Or the Halloween dance.
At this point, Sammy has come out of the speaker, killed the lead singer for the band that was scheduled to play, and starts throwing a pretty decent concert.
Yeah.
Actually.
Everyone in the audience is like totally stoked at this very good Sammy impersonator that is on stage, and they're like very into it until literally people's heads start exploding around them.
Yeah, he starts shooting electric laser bolts at people and they disintegrate, hit someone, turn into a pile of clothes in smoke style.
After he starts vaporizing some of the audience and they start fleeing, he just like turns his guitar on the members of the band, and it's great because like as he zaps each one, like the music just drops out until it's just like him doing this like really shitty guitar solo.
Yeah, they did a real job of cutting the track so it actually sounded like they stopped playing. And it was kind of funny because like I think he disintegrates like two audience members before people realize what's going on.
Yeah, they're still totally into it. They're like, wow, okay. But yeah, then everyone starts freaking out and running around. The teacher dies. Like, a lot of people die.
A lot of people die. There's a really bad, like, exploding mannequin that's like, so I think they're supposed to be behind the second level banister, but it looked like they were in front of climbing off of it. Like, that's the only other special effect I could call out for the rest of this movie.
Then Eddie shows up. It's chaos. Police and fire are there. Everyone is just fleeing. He runs in to try to save Leslie.
Leslie's getting cleaned up. I think she's planning on visiting Ragman. She's changing out of her costume, and Tad Chad Tim goes into the girls' locker room for nefarious purposes.
It's really messed up. It's the like, he hurt my girl, so I'm gonna hurt his girl. It's really screwed up. She's not having it. She runs away. And he goes after her.
She runs to the showers and she's taking a shower, and he just kind of sulks in the hallway. Thankfully, it doesn't really go much further than him forcing a kiss on her.
And neither of them know what's going on in the gymnasium at this point. They're just having their own little drama there. So Eddie sees Tim in the hallway, and he valiantly tries to save him from the chaos that he knows is ensuing.
Yeah, he really becomes a stand-up guy when he's like, dude, you need to get out of here. People are dying. When he could have just been like, you asshole, what are you doing here?
Yeah. But instead, they're interrupted when I think Sammy shows up and then just straight up kills Tim for reasons.
Yeah, he grabs Tim by the head, lifts him up, licks his finger, jams it into an electrical socket, and presumably explodes his head. We don't see it, but they do some good visual storytelling there, I think. He runs into Leslie, and then they start running.
The music is still playing, I guess, and they try to
get to the main circuit box. Yeah, he's edging towards them. He's going to myrtleize them. Ragman has no effect. He ineffectually tries to yell at the lock, and Roger gets a fire axe and is like, I screwed up. I need to fix this, and slams the axe into the circuit breaker, killing the power.
This also takes Roger out of commission. He's knocked out. I think they end up dragging him out to the paramedics where they're trying to get him some help.
That's probably one of my favorite scenes. There's this sort of establishing shot in the outside. There's paramedics wheeling someone out on a gurney, and there's like a really sobbing kind of account of what had happened, and it kind of seemed like it was coming from the person on a gurney who's in just the most nightmare fuel Chuck E. Cheese full body bear costume I have ever seen. But then it pans over and it's just someone talking to the police.
Yeah, I thought that too. It was a good visual pun, but so they get him help, but then they realize, oops, we forgot about Gene Simmons. Oh, I guess we need to talk about Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, he's on the TV kind of in the background at a couple points as a televangelist preacher, of all things, rail against the evils of rock and roll.
He's constantly on the news giving commentary on the various events that occur during the movie. And then at one point when Sammy manifests himself in Eddie's room and needs to show off his power, he rakes his hand across the TV while Ozzy Osbourne's on it and then kills him somehow.
Presumably. You don't really see it. He does it again with like the school teachers on, but he actually pulls out a charred corpse out of the TV when he's at Rogers.
You only hear about it later from the news where it's like, oh yeah, this guy died of like some sort of heart attack or something. It was weird. I don't know. Yeah, so Ozzy Osbourne gets to play a religious preacher guy, which is pretty great.
It was pretty funny back when you could understand what he was saying all the time.
Meanwhile, Gene Simmons is just going about his day, going to do a tribute to his friend.
Getting ready to play the record at midnight. But meanwhile, before they can get to him, well, all the police are getting statements from everyone, and everyone's like, it was Sammy Kerr. Sammy Kerr did it. And they're all like, he died. He's dead. Then someone points at Eddie and is like, that's him. That's the weirdo.
So there's a really goofy foot chase where the police are chasing after them on foot, and then Eddie starts running, and then Leslie comes along with him, and he's like, why are you here? And she's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
but at this point she's kind of like fully on board with like whatever his nonsense is, because she didn't see like 90% of the chaos. She mostly just has like his word to go on.
Pretty much all she saw is Sammy with electricity come out of the speaker, the PA speaker, just before Roger smashes the circuit breaker. So that's all she's got. But she's there for it. God bless her.
Those two kids go on the run together, and the cops are kind of just like Keystone copping around town. I think at this point, the tape is actually played. Like midnight rolls around, and then the tape starts playing. Sammy Kerr's song is ringing throughout the city, through speakers and all sorts of things. So he now can appear wherever, and he manifests himself in the middle of the street, and some cops are like, hey.
I thought it was a security guard at first, honestly, but he pulls out a taser and shoots Sammy with it, which has no effect other than to make Sammy laugh and then disintegrate him into smoking boots.
I think it was a police officer because Eddie and love interest steal his car.
Yeah. And then we get the final chase. I don't remember if Eddie puts the cassette in the tape player or throws it in the back seat, but he manages to trick Sammy into manifesting in the car, and he's stuck in the metal, the kind of cage they have at the back. Of the police car. And as a callback to the earlier car chase, drives it straight off the raised drawbridge, killing all of the fish.
Because we find out, like, earlier on in this whole long chase sequence where Eddie and love interest go back to his house in order to get the keys to his car. I think this is where he gets the keys to the station wagon.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the whole house sequence.
There's a whole long house sequence where the song is playing. He's afraid that Sammy's going to pop out anywhere, but he needs to go get some sort of transportation. So he like goes rummaging for the keys, can't find them, and then, oh no, they're in the bathroom. So we got to go in the bathroom and get the keys, which is be in and out very quick. But Sammy pops up and then struggle, but he ends up slipping and then plunging one of his hands into the toilet.
Right. And then they rush outside, and they're sort of keeping an eye on him by watching the screaming, flashing silhouette in the bathroom window while Eddie's trying to go through the car.
Yeah, apparently electric types are weak to water. So
yeah.
So that is how they learn that Sammy is weak against water. So by trapping him in that Faraday cage of a police backseat and then driving the whole thing into the drink, they manage to defeat the evil rock demon.
Yeah. And they share a kiss. Roll credits.
Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward movie, honestly.
Yeah, it's not bad. Really good soundtrack, too. All the music from Sammy Kerr's band was done by a band called Fastway. I looked up the vinyl because I kind of wanted to get it, but it's like $80 to $100. $80 to $200 on eBay, from what I could find.
Wow. Weirdly enough, this movie was written by Glenn Morgan and James Wong of X-Files and Millennium fame.
And Glenn Morgan was actually in the movie as someone named Roger Marcus, which I do not remember.
I think that's the best friend. No. Yes?
Yeah, there's no one else named Roger, and the best friend was named... Okay, so yeah, neat.
So this is like 90s iconic media creators' baby's first adventure, and I'm way into it. When they were creating this movie, they wanted to make something in the vein of a Nightmare on Elm Street, and so they definitely ripped off a lot of the tropes from Nightmare. The, like, Sammy can come at you anywhere, and he's got a burned face.
Right, half his face is burned. Forgot about that.
This was in the era of the charismatic horror villain. Again, we talked about it. The same thing with the guy from Brain Scan, Leprechaun, that vein of like over the top villainy.
Charismatic supernatural bad guy.
Mm-hmm. As a horror movie, I think it's fun. It's got some shitty bits in it, of course, because it's an 80s movie. And as a Halloween movie, I rate it pretty low, honestly.
I guess. I mean... As a Halloween-themed movie, sure, I can see that. But as a scary movie to watch on Halloween, It's not a bad choice.
Yeah, I think it's a great scary movie to watch on Halloween. I just don't think it earns the trick or treat name.
Oh yeah, that Halloween dance was pretty. It was mostly just people in like costumes without the heads.
Yeah.
From what I could see, like a lot of colored, flashy jumpsuits and stuff, but no finishing. I think a lot of people are just wearing suits.
Yeah, it was a Halloween movie in the same way that Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Yeah, and as someone who does believe that Die Hard is a Christmas movie, yeah, that's fair.
It criticizes the religious fanaticism and satanic panic of the 80s, but then is also like, but it's actually maybe true because there is demons. there's real demons. They maybe had a point.
There are not only messages running backwards on the discs, but they're actually speaking from beyond the grave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which was an interesting sort of place to take it, because you're like, huh, I guess you're just satirizing everyone in this?
Yeah. I don't know that they really felt like they had a point other than just to make a movie. Did you finish the credits?
I did not.
Okay. At least the version on YouTube, there's a post-credits Ozzy Osbourne clip that wasn't in the movie. Or at least I didn't see it. But it's just him going, I think it'll turn you into a pervert. And then it cuts to black.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah. Okay. I just kind of forgot about it because it was just kind of a non sequitur.
It was a funny thing to leave on.
I wish I had more to say about it, but it's just like, it's just a pretty standard horror movie. And
yeah, solid, good music, decent acting all around. Nobody really phones in their performance.
If you are a fan of over-the-top heavy metal and miss, jean vests from the 80s, this is a movie for you.
Oh god, I forgot. There's that scene after he gets his revenge where he's kind of got confidence and he's wearing a sleeveless t-shirt under a jean vest with like a bandana, and he's like, he's not doing finger guns, but he has that kind of exuberance that implies constant finger guns.
That swagger. He's kind of a jerk to the people around him a little bit, because he can be, even though he looks like an extra from the Bad music video.
But yeah, that was Trick or Treat from 1986. I hope everyone had a happy Halloween, current events notwithstanding. But Kate, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me these days mostly on TikTok and Twitter as Army of Meat, and also check out my other movie podcast, Weaving Spaghetti, where we are also talking about horror movies, but in a different sort of way. And where can people find you, Sky?
As always, I am undead on Twitter at shard_corso, SHARD_CORSO. If you've got a suggestion for the show, you can drop it to us at the podcast Twitter at interestingchoice6, INTRESTINGCHOI6. Also, we're now on Spreaker. You can find us by going to Spreaker.com/show/interesting-choices. Or just search for Interesting Choices on Spreaker. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and your podcast service of choice. Before we go, I'd just like to give a special shout out to Junk Food Cinema for making me aware of this movie in the first place.
Thanks. Otherwise, I would have never seen it either.
Until next week, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.